What's up guys, YSC here and welcome back to another Raid Shadow Legends video. And today we have got a bunch of new champions coming to Teleria in the upcoming patch for the Lonatharil fusion that will be starting on Thursday 4th of August, so it's just around the corner. We are on the test server today, so don't think I've got all of these champions on my main account, but be sure to hit that like and subscribe button if you want to see a showcase on every single champion that I'm about to show. So get some popcorn. This could be a long one depending how long it takes me to read out these kits, and I'm really excited for you guys to see these champion skills. So let's start off in the Knights Revenant faction, and it's going to be Teodora 7th. This guy is an absolute beast. Like, I've had a bit of playtesting with him already, but on his AE1 with Vile Psychic, can attack all enemies, has a 30% chance of placing a 30% decreased speed debuff for 2 turns. Damage based on defense. This is an outstanding A1. Many of you guys are aware that Mother Cybele is very used in the Hydra boss because of a very similar skill set here. So to have an AoE decreased speed on the A1 is huge. And then on the 7th, Savvy has a 100% chance once booked of applying 2 5% poison debuffs and a poison sensitivity debuff on all enemies for 2 turns, and places a 30% increased speed buff on all allies for 2 turns on a 3-turn cooldown. This is remarkable because you can enable 2-to-1 compositions in the clan boss. You can throw this out for poison explosion teams, or just so many uses with it placing and not being a hit, which means that you can't get weak hits as long as you got the accuracy right. So this is huge. I think with a skill like this, maybe paired in a lifesteal set or something like that, you might be able to even solo some of the bosses. So this is huge. On the chemistry, can increase the duration of all poison debuffs and HP burn on all enemies by 1 turn, then instantly activates any poison debuffs and HP burn debuffs on each enemy. Now, before everybody jumps the horse, I actually tried this out before making this guide for all of the other champions, and it doesn't work in the way of a Zarya or a Lonatharil, unfortunately. It basically kind of ticks a poison, if that makes sense. So if you've got like a stack of 10 poisons, it kind of ticks like 1. I'm not 100% sure, but it definitely doesn't one-shot. Through testing anyway. I put him in the same position as a Lonatharil, did the same setup, and it didn't activate in the same way. And then also places a 25% weakened debuff for 2 turns on enemies not under poison debuffs or HP burn. It's still a remarkable kit. It's kind of like a legendary version of the Dark Hail, being able to increase the duration of those poisons so someone like an Lonatharil can come through, combust, and completely annihilate those waves. So don't kind of look down on this. It's definitely a strong skill, and I ran him without a Lonatharil and he still got through the whole Fire Knight 25 in around 1 minute 45 seconds, which is substantial without a pure poison exploder. So I'm a huge fan of him, considering all of the other utility he does have. And then this champion's resistance can also increase by 5 for each poison debuff on the enemy team. Accuracy in all battles by 50 aura. He is outstanding. Alright, so next up on the list, we're going to head into the Orcs. Duchess who? That's all I'm going to say before you guys read this kit. So we've got Raka Viletide, and the love came for the Orcs. I feel happy about this because of the faction games. And what does she do? What are you talking about? Goodbye Duchess. So It's Your Life can attack one enemy, heals the ally with the lowest HP by 10% of this champion's max HP. Which is really solid. The heal can book up to an extra 20% chance. And then Oozing Blessing. This is where it starts to really ramp up here. So removes all debuffs from all allies, so a full out cleanse, then places a 50% increased attack buff and a shield buff equal to 25% of this champion's max HP on all allies for 2 turns, on a 3-turn cooldown. This is remarkable, being able to cleanse off that stun target, cleanse off that decreased speed in the clan boss, and also place that shield buff. This is insane. Really solid A2, guys. Then with the Plasm Rebirth, revives all dead allies, all with 50% HP and 50% turn meter. 50! This is insane. then places a block debuffs buff on all allies for 2 turns, and will also place that block debuffs even if there are no dead allies. So sometimes, like with some skills, you don't want to place it because it kind of messes up the second part of their kit. But with her, she's able to place that block debuffs even if your team are in full sustain mode, just being able to place that block debuffs regardless. This is like one of the strongest revive abilities in the game. Increase turn meter by 50%, all dead allies, and a block debuffs regardless if they're revived or not. It's crazy. And then the passive with creep, at the start of each turn, fills the turn meters of all allies by 10%, and at the start of each turn places a 15% continuous heal buff on the ally with the lowest HP, on a 2-turn cooldown. And a speed aura of 19%. This champion is literally up there with Duchess, in my opinion. We've got a 40 base resistance, a 109 base speed, 20,000 HP on the base, and 1.1k defense. Reasonably solid stats there, and I'm really excited to try her out for sure. And she's at Void Affinity. You love to see it. She's great. Obviously, Duchess has the perfect value and stuff, but they're great in their own rights and using it in specific scenarios. But as always, let me know in the comment section how you're feeling about these champions so far. Okay, so there is an epic here, but I don't want to talk about it yet. I want to save the epics for last. So let me just get through the legendaries first. So in the Skinwalkers, you guys wanted love and they gave it to us in a Snick Track. Fun fact, I was actually given a little backstory on this champion. And you remember when Calvalax came out? He was actually the 3rd person in that competition. So Calvalax was like the top pick, then there was a 2nd and a 3rd. And Snick Track was that champion. So big shout out to the person that came up with this in the community. And here he is, surprise. You actually got a brand new Skinwalkers in the game based on your art. So congratulations on that. But also congratulations on that huge kit. So attacks one enemy and places a 50% decreased attack debuff for 2 turns. If the target is under a leech, has a 100% chance of placing the decreased attack debuff for 2 turns before attacking. You really need to pay close attention to this because in the clan boss, bringing in someone that's affinity, like this champion is in spirit, he might be your only decreased attack champion in your composition. Now, being able to have that leech up to ensure that decreased attack is going to place regardless of affinity makes this an outstanding A1 ability. So I'm a huge fan of this. On the A2, with Cloying Horror, can attack all enemies, has a 100% chance of placing a 30% decreased speed debuff for 2 turns. Can also place a shield buff on all allies equal to 30% of this champion's max HP for 2 turns. And the shield buff cannot be removed if there are any enemies under a leech. This all makes sense once we come to the passive, but this is a really strong A2. On Vermin Vitae, places a 50% ally protection buff on all allies except this champion for 2 turns, and places a reflect damage buff on all allies for 2 turns, and heals this champion by 50% of their max HP. This is an outstanding skill as well. 3-turn cooldown ally protection, decreased speed AoE with a shield, and a decreased attack that can place under a leech debuff. Hydra Boss, Demon Lord, this guy is an absolute beast. 22,000 base HP, 1.2k on the defense. Soul Rot, whenever an ally under reflect damage buff is attacked, places a leech debuff on the attacker for 1 turn. This is what makes it amazing because in his ally protection, he actually places that reflect damage for 2 turns, enables that leech debuff so he can place the decreased attack or the shield that cannot be removed, because that leech is going to be up a lot of the time as long as you're getting this up. So it's a really nice little synergy here for one champion. Reflects 50% of the damage this champion receives back to the attacker as well, and increases the amount of damage reflected by 20% from reflect damage buffs placed by this champion. Okay, so this is kind of a nice little... I'm not sure if there's any other champions in the game that read like this, because for me personally, the reflect damage buff has always been a little underwhelming. But with the increasing of the amount of reflections and the 50% reflection from this champion, I think there's a lot of potential here. I'm going to have to trial it out. I don't want to jump the gun, but aesthetics amazing, a kit outstanding. No epics, unfortunately, guys, so you're gonna have to summon a legendary. I wish he was the fusion. Or Ultimate Death Knight. No, guys, he's not in this upcoming patch. I don't know what's going on with him. Alright then, so what we're going to do is break down the epics now. So if we go into the Shadowkin, we're going to start off with Wuji. Now, I do strongly believe that the 4 epics I'm about to show you will be the ones to fuse Lonatharil. I'm not 100% because I am recording this video on a Sunday, and I'm still awaiting confirmation on this, but for them to give us test access and for there to only be 4 epics that's not included in other things I'm going to show you, I strongly believe these will be the epics, and if so, there is some outstanding choices here for you guys. So on the A1, Dire Twin Blade can attack one enemy, has a 30% chance of applying a big version of the weakened debuff for 2 turns. Will target all enemies instead when counterattacking with this skill. And then on the A2 ability, will attack all enemies and places a 55, 65, 70, 75% chance of placing a block buff debuff for 2 turns, which is really solid, but it's on a 4-turn cooldown, and also places a perfect veil and counterattack buff on this champion for 2 turns. Which is really solid, a very good mischief tank potentially, being able to place those extra buffs on yourselves, and when she counterattacks, she can actually make this an AoE weaken instead. So a nice little synergy there, and an increased attack in all battles by 20%. I wouldn't say the best champion in the game, but a strong block buffs candidate here for sure. There was no more in the Shadowkin, so let's head into the Dark Elves. Actually, we'll talk about that champion afterwards because I believe we have to attain her in a different way. So go into the Orcs, and it's going to be a Yellow Gurner. It's a bit like got a bit of a Candleguard theme going here. And on the A1, can attack one enemy 2 times, places a 50% increased attack buff on this champion for 2 turns if this attack kills an enemy. Now, I'm not sure how hard she's going to hit. I'm going to have to try that out, but reasonably nice A1 there. And then on Mortify, attacks all enemies, has a 75% chance, 100% chance once booked, of applying a 50% decreased attack debuff for 2 turns. And that's on an AoE on a 3-turn cooldown, making that really consistent. On the Sword of Loss, attacks one enemy, has a 100% chance of placing a block buffs and a block active skills debuff for 2 turns, but this attack is always critical. So I'm very interested to see if it's like a sniper champion. You know when they just like one shot and kind of target like that? I'm interested to try her out. And then revives one random ally with 50% HP every time this champion kills an enemy. So I'm really intrigued to see it now because there's so much synergy of reviving and no crit, and then always critting on that A2. And increased attack in faction grips. It may just be a strong Orc champion for the faction wars, with the potential to be amazing in PvP for mid-game players. So yeah, she's a little bit underwhelming from reading the kit, but I might be proven wrong later down the line. But in terms of these next 2 champions, one of them really blew me away, and I've actually got a video prepped for him, and it's going to be Anchorite, or Anchorite, however you want to say his name. He likes his little pose with his little hand. He's like, give me a Sacred Shard Polarium and our 5-star chickens. But we have got our Spirit champion who is support from the Sacred Order. He is remarkable, and I'd say if he's part of this fusion, you don't have a Gutsy Canary and you don't have a Sandlash Survivor, please do not miss your chance to get yourself a really strong buff extender. He is insane. So on his A1, Warm Embrace will attack all enemies and heals the ally with the lowest HP by 10% of the damage inflicted. Now, having an AoE A1 allows you to use stun sets, sleep sets, whatever sets that has CC in it is really strong, but the way that I feel he's going to be used is for that clan boss, or potentially the Hydra as well. Like, he could be a really strong healer there. Removes one random debuff from all allies, then increases the duration of all buffs by 1 turn. This is remarkable, guys. Like, I know a lot of people have issues with being able to keep that 4-to-3 ratio on a Sepulchre Sentinel or something like that, and they want to use a Grizzle Geo just to block the stun, right? This champion allows you to increase the duration of your buffs, right? Your block debuffs, your increased defense, your increased attacks, whatever you're using, and also removes a debuff, so helping you keep affinity friendly, taking off that stun or taking off that decreased speed from Spirit. This is really, really solid, guys. I had a lot of fun with this. Now, for people saying, is he going to be better than Sandlash Survivor or Sepulchre Sentinel? I'd say they're good in their own rights in their own teams. Like, it's very situational, but I definitely put him up there, like, for sure. And then heading into the Sacred Trust can fully heal a target ally and then places a 30% increased crit rate, increased crit damage buff on all allies for 2 turns on a 4-turn cooldown. This is just... Guys, this champion is outstanding. If he's part of this fusion, please get him. Please. He's allowing your champions in the clan boss to only need a 70% crit rate. He's also increasing your crit damage. He's potentially cleansing a decreased speed or a stun from your stun target or AoEs. And then increases the duration of your ally buffs by 1 turn, making sure that you got all of your buffs up 100% time. And he heals substantially. It's crazy because if he fully heals a target, let's just say your ally protection champion in Tarogi the Frog, or your stun champion in Iron Brago, hypothetically. If your problem is stun targeting in particular, this guy is up there for you. Better than Godseeker and Sandlash, in my opinion. Because I know a lot of people, over time, their stun targets getting smashed and smashed and smashed. He just comes through on that 4-turn cooldown and like, nope. He's getting straight back up to full HP. And it's clutch. I'll showcase that video this week. Also, ally HP in all battles by 25%. He's so good. And he looks great as well, so... yeah, I'm a huge fan of him. Can't you tell? In car linear, we have got a Candleguard V2. And that is J-Gig's new favorite. And on A1, can attack 1 enemy. Has a 40% chance of placing a HP burn debuff for 2 turns. On the A2 in Penance, attacks all enemies. Has a chance of placing decreased attack. And this debuff cannot be resisted by targets under HP burn debuffs. I think this non-resistible conditional with the burn makes this really nice on a 3-turn cooldown. And then decreases the duration of all debuffs on all allies by 1 turn. And then places a 15% strengthen buff on all allies for 2 turns. And this buff cannot be removed or stolen. Okay. Every time an enemy under HP burn debuff gets a turn, decreases the duration of 2 random buffs on the enemy by 1 turn. Okay. Alright, so this passive changes his champion completely for me. Being able to reduce 2 random buffs on the enemy by 1 turn every time that an enemy under HP burn takes that turn. That's amazing for the Hydra boss, I think. Being able to have that strengthen that cannot be removed. Really strong damage mitigation there. Decreases the duration of all debuffs on all allies, making sure that you can kind of cleanse some stuff. AoE decreased attack and a HP burn of her own. Resisting all battles by 35 too. She's solid. I really like that champion for sure. Alright, so that was the 4 epics and the 4 legendaries. We also had the actual fusion itself in Lonatharil. And I actually want to say in this video, since making my release video for the champion a few days ago, where is it? This one here really let me down. Now, it's a lot more clear here than it was in the art, but it's actually broken up into 2 skills, all right? So I know that many people was excited about a non-removable shield on a 3-turn duration, and so was I, right? The fact is, it places that shield buff for 3 turns for 20% of their max HP, but only if a champion is dead will it be non-removable, stolen, or transferred. I don't know why they just didn't throw it in. That would have made him really viable. So I'm actually not going for this champion. I'm still going to showcase him for you guys, but I'm personally not going for him. All right, so let's talk about the other champions now. And I'm not going to be able to playtest them, but they're in the game for us to showcase, right? So if we go into Fragment Fusions, we have got a number 1 in, if we can find them. Where is he? So we got Chronom. And he looks pretty cool. Wait, what does he remind me of? I don't know, he looks like something. But attacks 1 enemy, has a chance of increasing the duration of a random debuff for 1 turn. Attacks 3 times at random. And each hit has an 80% chance of instantly activating any HP burn debuffs on the target. And Huli fills this champion by 10% of their max HP for each HP burn debuff activated by this skill. Also attacks all enemies, has a chance of placing that HP burn debuff for 2 turns, and fills his champion's turn meter by 15%. Every time 10 active skills are used in a battle, by either an enemy or allied champions, this champion instantly activates Berserker's D-Light. Okay, so he's kind of like a burn ninja-esque champion. He seems pretty cool. And the next one's going to be... I'm not sure if this one's new, but I believe that this is going to be the new Doom Tower champion. They can get after Urtikata or something like that. And Magnificent Scepter attacks one enemy, has a 30% chance of removing one random debuff from a random ally, will not remove a debuff from this champion. Attacks one enemy, places a revive or death buff on this champion for 2 turns. And a 25% strengthen and shield buff equal to 25% of this. Ooh, okay. Okay, that's strong. I like that. That's a really strong A3 there for the clan boss. And increases the value of all shield buffs and all allies by 15% while this... Whoa! Yo, give me Krakow. I want this guy. Or this chick. Yo, that is huge. Alright, I'm excited to try that champion for sure. Well, it's going to take us about 50 years to get her. And then last but not least, we have got Digimasa. However you want to say her name. And she has got champion skins. But let's just talk about her kit quickly. Attacks one enemy, 30% chance of placing a sleep debuff for 1 turn if Chronim is on the same team. And the sleep debuff cannot be... Wait, what? And the sleep debuff was resisted or blocked, places their decreased speed. Okay. Heals a target ally by 30% of their max HP and fills their turn meters by 30%. If this skill is used on Chronim, Chronim will instantly activate. So that synergy between Chronim and Digimaster is going to be huge. Moonlight March revives all dead allies with 30% HP and 30% turn meter on a 4-turn or 5-turn cooldown. Whenever an ally uses an active skill, has a 25% chance or 20% of decreasing the cooldown of that skill by 1 turn. On a 0-turn cooldown? Have I got that right there? Okay, so that makes her really strong because if you book that down, that means it happens every turn. Defense in all battles by 20%, and here is the champion skin. Let me know which one you like better. To me, this one just looks like Fear the Tomb Angel without clothes on. Right? Or is it just me? So in terms to get these champions is actually from the referral program, which is going to be fresh coming to the game. I'm going to do a separate video on that one, so stay tuned on the channel. I'm trying to make like an extra video out of it so I can break it down properly. Krakow is going to be from the Doom Tower. And Chronim's also going to be a part of that referral program, which I'll talk about in a separate video. So I believe that was all the champions covered. Let me know which ones you was most excited about. Do you think that the 4 epics... Well, you'll probably know by then, but I believe the 4 epics will be the one for the fusion. And I think that increased duration one, like a Godseeker Neri in Anchorite, is definitely the one I think is most useful for most players. And yeah, let me know your favorite legendary champion as well, and I'll catch you guys on the next one. Peace.